Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today as we connect with some of the leading entertainment marketers in the space to talk about driving viewership, tune-in, and ultimately consumer retention. My name is Christina Park, and I head up the entertainment vertical here at Samba TV. I'm thrilled to be moderating this panel as connecting audiences with their favorite content is at the heart of what we do here. To provide a little bit of information about Samba TV, we are the pioneers in ECR television data. Our technology sits within the glass of 24 different television manufacturers globally and allows us to see everything from linear to show-level streaming behavior to ad consumption and gives us a really comprehensive look into what people are watching and how they're watching it. Here at Samba TV, we offer marketers a turnkey solution into measuring and activating their media buys across all channels. That said, we have a great lineup of panelists today. I'm super excited that represent all aspects of the entertainment marketing space. We have brand representation with the NBA, we have agency representation with Mediahub, and we have leading publisher and platform representation with Reddit and with Meta. I hand it over to you guys to do a quick introduction and then also share your favorite TV show that you're currently watching.
Should I start, Christina?
Yes, go ahead, Yasmin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yasmin Mitchell. I'm the Global Lead Campaign Analytics at the National Basketball Association. I cover everything from data, measurement, analytics, insights for the league. I also handle all of the data analytics for our affiliate partners, so the WNBA, G League, 2K League, Basketball Africa League. Also, my role encompasses everything that's domestic and also international.
Wow, amazing.
Awesome. I'm Ryan Brendel. I'm the Global Head of Marketing Science at Reddit. There's always a little bit of question of like, what does that mean exactly? And so our team's really focused on making sure we have the right first-party in-house tools as well as the right third-party relationships. We then use those tools to help advertisers understand the value of their media on our platform and especially how to improve it. And then we create this really unique data set through that series of experiments. And we want to use that to really bring together best practices, learnings, and helping everybody understand the platform a little bit better. So that's what I'm focused on. And favorite show, obviously, I'm getting ready to watch my Nuggets repeat.
Oh, we're going to go back to
I was say, oh, we're going to do that at the end?
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, so for me, I'm a Colorado native, so I'm looking forward to watching the Nuggets repeat. And when I'm not doing that, I'm going to be watching probably the next Star Wars show, if I'm being honest. So.
And then Yasmin, we skipped your favorite TV show.
Sorry.
Yes.
Can I start? Okay, don't judge me. The Golden Bachelor.
Ooh.
Nice.
Wow.
Give it up.
Honest answer. I love it. Yes.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Vincent. I am a video investment lead at Mediahub here in New York, where I focus primarily on traditional linear tune-in, which is not easy these days. I also have experience in the streaming field as well. And right now we cover everything from a national video perspective, so CTV, linear TV, et cetera. This is going to sound really bad, but I have 2 young kids at home. It's like Bluey or Blippi at this point, honestly.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and honestly, I watch Bluey without the kids, so I would put Bluey as my #1 stream show right now.
Hi, everyone. Yang Kennedy, Marketing Science Director at Meta for Americas region. I think Ryan has conveniently already explained what marketing science does, and exactly that, same as Meta. And so I cover a range of verticals, so starting from a very traditional, such as auto, which mostly leverage linear, and to the hybrid. I think entertainment is actually more hybrid with linear and streaming, to very, very digital forward, such as gaming, Amazon. So it's a full gamut of verticals. So I am currently binge watching Only Murder in the Building. That's my favorite. And prior to that, it was Succession. So.
Oh, yes, good.
Very good. I didn't share my TV show. I forget what it's called. Apple TV Plus, about 90 supermodels. Anyone?
Oh, sounds good, though.
Someone knows in the audience. That's what I've been watching.
Like, shout it out.
Oh,
Yeah.
Love is Blind.
Love is Blind, also, yes. Yeah. All right, so we're going to start off with a really easy warm-up question. What do you guys think is the biggest challenge today in terms of the biggest challenge that entertainment marketers face when it comes to driving tune-in? So Yasmin, I'll start with you.
All right, so that was it's an easy question,
It's
but it's also a challenging question, right? Because I think there's a lot of challenges, right? The proliferation of audience fragmentation, as we all know, has been happening for so many years. Consumers have so many ways of watching and consuming TV across multiple platforms. But I also think it's cyclical. I feel like it's not just how you reach audiences, but it's also how you measure your marketing campaign, right? If you're unable to really be able to attribute what part of your campaign is driving viewership, you have a hard time then informing future campaigns. So at the NBA, we have what we call a measurement learning agenda that we enforce for all of our tempos for the season, and it's very intense, as many of you guys will know, because we partner with you guys at Samba TV, and we really have a lot of partners that we partner with to really look at tune-in, of course, linear, digital, social, CTV, and what have you. We also lean into data and research as pertains to digital out-of-home advertising. So if you don't have a really strong measurement framework to really help identify what's attributing viewership, you have a hard time really fine-tuning and refining your marketing campaign.
I really like that. Did you say learning agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So it's measurement is about learning. It's about the journey. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Ryan, what about you?
I think for us, one of the things we see a lot of is there's so much content and so much choice that consumers have. It's not just a matter of, hey, how do I re-engage with new customers and find people to bring to my media, but also how do I engage people that love my media but maybe don't know about it. And so I think we can all probably in the room think about one show that we absolutely love out there that we probably haven't caught the latest season for. And so I think marketers have a challenge, like I said, of kind of defending their turf while also looking for new opportunities. And so on Reddit, this shows up really great. Communities exist and people self-identify, and so we've seen a lot of success with people being able to engage that model to understand, like I said, how to re-engage those customers, how to remind them, and hit the 3 key W's of like, what are we talking about, when is it, and where can I see it?
Great, Daniel.
I'm very much aligned with the NBA's point of view as well. For us specifically, we really have 2 very condensed weeks of flight for us to reach our core audience that we need to reach in order to drive live tune-in. And given all the audience fragmentation out there and consumption habits that are consistently changing, we can all think about ourselves and what we do on a daily basis, right? I go from a podcast to a car radio to online, out of home I see in Manhattan to Bluey or Blippi. There's opportunities to get me, but it's tough within those 2 condensed weeks. And think about all the other messaging I'm receiving at the same time. So how do you effectively reach your qualified audience during a very condensed time period is truly a challenge.
Young.
Sure. At Meta, we see our marketers are under unprecedented pressure to provide content the content had to do a lot, right? That had to inspire new customer to join, retain existing customer vital to their business, also prevent users from switching to competitors or turning their services. If you look at from measurement side, it's even more complicated because creating a measurement framework for viewership is not straightforward. To start with, viewership data is very fragmented across multiple places. Streaming data is owned by the platforms themselves. That's easy. But linear tune-in usually owned by third party instead of the networks. If you think about the measurement methodology for linear versus digital, they are vastly different as well. Last but not least, consumer behavior has further complicated the matters. Think about translating a user ad impression to a family or a group of friends binge watching together. It's hard for advertisers to tell if their ads are driving purchase to their own titles at some time.
So speaking of consumer behavior, I think coming out of the pandemic, we saw a steep decline in the number of streaming platforms that consumers choose to pay for. And then also most recently, a lot of these streaming platforms are moving into ad-supported models. So it's a 2-part question. How do you think that's going to affect A, the type of content that's produced, and B, the type of streaming platforms consumers choose to pay for, or content consumers choose to pay for? Young, I'll start with you.
Sure. So content not only have to stand out, but also have to satisfy the need for acquisition, retention, churn reduction, as I mentioned earlier, right? So we have seen streaming platforms, many of them have evolved from simply monitoring the cost per newly acquired customer to assess the acquisition content value. It's clear that marketers are now more focused on profitability and lifetime value of their users to evaluate investment. I also think marketers should be more mindful when thinking about media strategies they use for different type of content. For example, returning shows usually have higher baseline for tuning in, which require longer and stronger campaigns that optimize toward video view to drive incremental viewership. But new shows and major releases can do well with broad targeting and optimized for reach, coupled with sufficient exposure frequency.
Awesome. Daniel, I'd love your point of view because I think you mentioned earlier that you guys are trying to drive towards linear viewership.
That is our key objective entirely. I think on to your first question though about what this means from a content distribution standpoint from the streaming partners, I think there's a lot that they can learn from the linear TV partners out there. Nielsen released a study at the end of the summer talking about streaming consumption. And 2 shows accounted for, I think, 23 billion minutes of viewing. And I'm sure some people in this room have probably read the article and probably know what I'm going to say. 18 billion of those minutes was a title called Suits, right? Suits ended in 2019. So there's obviously a huge appetite out there for licensed and acquired content. So, and I think we're seeing it again on the linear side, right? CBS just started re-airing Yellowstone. It's done wonders on the linear TV front. So it really needs to be a balanced approach in terms of distribution from content from the streaming partners. I think there's a lot for them to learn from the traditional TV people.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think there's a behavior that is probably worth mentioning, and that's people cycling on and off some of these subscriptions. There are times where it's like, oh, it's sports season, I'm going to get Sling TV and add on the sports package, or hey, my new favorite show just came out on Netflix, I want to make sure and engage with that, or Disney Plus, or wherever. And I think that that's why there's such a need to always be kind of present and talking about it in those communities, in some of those areas, and helping people stay top of mind not only with new content, but to your point, re-inviting them into these things and say, hey, when was the last time you watched The Office? When was the last time you watched some of these shows that we know are beloved? And we find that a lot of those conversations, those communities get really, really deep and are spending a lot of time on some of those shows and engaging with them. And so I think marketers having a real presence there and being able to continually talk to those audience and, like I said, not only showcase what they're doing that's new and exciting, but also reminding them of those old favorites. Marketers that are able to do that well, I think, tend to have a lot more buy-in and tend to get less of that cycling pattern.
Awesome. Yasmin, I'll close it out with you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so
That's still long, yeah.
with consumers basically getting more selective with the number of streaming platforms they choose to pay for, and a lot of these streaming platforms moving into ad-supported models, how do you think this will change the type of content that's produced and also the type of content consumers choose to pay for?
I think that at the NBA, we have NBA app, we have League Pass, we have NBA ID, and we have our live sports, right? So I kind of feel like we have to give consumers what they want, right? They'll pay for what they want, right? Like, for example, I always have Hulu because, Handmaid's Tale, I gotta watch Handmaid's Tale, right? And I'm guilty. I'm the one who would cancel my subscription when it's done, right? So I feel like people will pay, even though they did cut back, they will pay if you put the right kind of content. And then there's certain strategies like some marketers do or some publishers do, right? Because I've worked also at BET, other places. And if you have a Plus platform you're launching for your brand, you have to determine if you're going to put your premium content on the Plus platforms, right? At a cost, not an AVOD, but just at a cost from a subscriber perspective. And you can put your regular content on, regular linear TV, right? And some of the models that a lot of companies have been doing has been launching your premiere content first on the Plus platforms. And then, because if you pay for it, I want to see it first. It's almost like a FOMO thing. I want to see it first, right? You see it there, and then after, they would then launch it on to their linear platform. So it could be like a bi-directional thing, depends on what the goal is, what the business objective is. Is your Plus platform going to be the marketing vehicle for your linear programs? Or is your linear platform going to be the marketing vehicle for your Plus programs? So it's a toggle, but I think ultimately it depends on the business objective. If the goal is to gain more subscribers, right, then you would not go AVOD right away, right? You would keep it so that people are just downloading until you reach your certain business goal, and then later on decide to be an AVOD. And, if you start losing, you don't have enough, ad opportunity on your linear platform, you want to, make good on AVOD, you want to create more opportunity to sell advertising, right? Advertising is what keeps the lights on. So it depends on where the company is, right? From a revenue standpoint also, will determine what the strategy will be, right? So from a measurement perspective, leading into data to help inform even business strategy for senior leadership becomes important.
I love that. And actually, that might be the answer to the question I was just going to ask.
Sorry.
No, it's fantastic. But this question was geared towards you, but it was about live sports. So in Samba's latest data viewership report, we saw that 88% of the top 100 linear programs were actually sports related.
Sorry.
No, and I think, as you know, as you mentioned, the world of sports is drastically changing, right? It's been a traditionally linear viewership model. It's been moving over to streaming, with Amazon and Thursday Night Football. In some cases, there's a hybrid model. So the question was, as a sports marketer, how do you figure out, how you drive tune-in across those different platforms? And I think you addressed that a little bit. It's tied to the company objective. And then how do you promote that content as well? So I'll tee off to my second question then. How do you think now that the way that you're able to consume sports content is changing, how do you think that's going to affect the advertising model, right? It's no longer this TV you see on your computer and your mobile phone. Do you feel like ads can be maybe more interactive, more dynamic, more customized?
It better be. I mean, if you're not making your ads interesting, it's not going to keep an audience engaged, right? I think, there's so much. I don't want to use this term because it's probably not morally right to use an advertising version of ADHD, right? It's just too much going on, right? And if you don't capture my attention or the attention of your fans or consumers, then you just potentially lose them, right? So it's keep them engaged, understanding your fans, making sure the creative is speaking to the interests of the fans, and you're talking to your audience, right? You want to make sure that you feel like they know that they're being heard. I think that's important. I think it's important to make sure that creative is on the right media types and reaching those fans in the right way. From an interactive perspective, at the NBA, we have flow code we're using, our QR codes. We have this really great execution that we're doing right now where whether you're at home watching TV or you're offline at a bus stop or at a train station, you can now scan the QR code and the actual ad comes to life, right? So we've embedded not just machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence, but also augmented reality. So please, when you guys see the start of season ads on the bus stops, definitely scan the QR code, and that ad will literally come to life, and you will see things moving around. So it's staying ahead of the trends and staying innovative and keeping people engaged and keeping them connected to the brand as they leave the house, as they go throughout the day. It should be top of mind, right? It's really connecting those top of mind awareness and the top funnel, and really tying that down to now I actually want to watch the game because that was hot. You know what I mean? I actually want to engage in the brand. So I feel like it's about connecting the consumer, community, culture, and then that leads to conversion.
Awesome, I love that. Ryan, what about you?
I think the culture piece shows up a lot from what we see, which is people want to engage with sports in different ways, right? Some people want to spend time, really getting into the details, talking about really serious tactics and strategies, how their teams are doing. Some want to, look at the big arcs of a season, see how things are going, or, engage heavily in the off season. Some people just want to make jokes and build memes and have fun with it, right? And so I feel like there's so many different ways that you can engage. And I think finding those different audiences, finding what resonates with them. And again, I think there's more pressure than ever, like I said, to really understand, like I said, what's the arc of the season? What's really happening, and how do we keep people consistently getting those touch points and things like that? Because there is, even in the sports space, there's still a lot more opportunities to grab interest and get engagement elsewhere. And so I think really connecting the way people want to be connected with and where there's opportunities to connect with them is really important.
Awesome. Daniel, we're going to skip you, but we'll come back to you.
Nope, I'm not offended.
Young, I'd love your point of view.
Sure. I think at Meta, we do believe ad experience is really key, right? So we are exploring more ways to create new ad experiences that will engage consumer and provide unique value. So most recently, we're testing reminder ads. So if the reminder ads help people keep track of upcoming events and the moment that matter to them, if you have a sports show that you don't want to miss, you can leverage reminder ads that so basically will help facilitate appointment-based viewing. So another thing I really want to highlight that people probably don't consciously realize that TV and digital play well together. We can be friends, So I think it is not an either-or proposition. So multiple platforms and distribution channels can work together to achieve an advertiser's objective. That said, right, I think the tricky part is how do you align TV and digital strategies for maximum result? That's always easier said than done. So at Meta, we collaborate with partners like Samba for incrementality and with many MTA, MMM providers so that marketers can unify their measurement and they can calibrate results across all tactics with a much more holistic and accurate view of their campaigns in mind.
Awesome. All right, so shifting gears towards episodic content, Daniel.
Yeah.
So now, if you think about it, consumers have so many ways and choices in which they can consume content. Obviously, they can watch things on linear television. That same content might be available or licensed on a leading streaming platform. It might be available maybe on a proprietary, some sort of entertainment app or platform. And you touched on this a little bit, but what kind of challenges do you think entertainment marketers face when it comes to driving viewership, when that viewership is so fragmented and there's so many different ways to consume that content?
Yeah, I mean, this isn't an easy answer, but it's really doing the research and understanding your audience and how they consume, right? And that could be a different approach based on the campaign, based on the seasonality of the campaign, based off, for us, the type of program that we're marketing, if it is just a normal returning series, if it's a tentpole event. It all starts with just understanding how they're consuming content during that time. What are the different ways? The one caveat I will say to that though, especially on the linear TV side, is like we know who our bread and butter audience is, right? We know who the super fans are of our shows and of our channel. We have the data. It's all based off past performance. That needs to be the focus of our campaign. Those are the ones that we know are going to tune in if we continue to hit them. So that's where we need to put a significant amount of our investment is behind those super fans, behind those heavy viewers of our channel and of our content. Because if we risk missing out on those, then we risk not hitting our objective of driving the live linear rating that we are trying to achieve. The one thing I'll add on top of that then is look at how maybe the light TV viewers are consuming, right? And maybe that's where you go with a smaller portion of your budget on the CTV space or digital, right? Any incrementality you get from there is just gravy on top.
I love that, and I think that's a great segue to you, Ryan, because we've talked about Reddit and how you guys have these great communities and even like obscure things that you might not think other people share interest like you do. You guys have communities for that. So same question to you. Now that content is so fragmented, how do you think a marketer can drive tune-in? Where's the focus?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple places where people can engage. So we've had a ton of success with doing those really big tentpole moments like AMAs, right? I mean, that's one of the things that kind of Reddit's known for of, hey, let's bring on, a star, let's bring on somebody from the show, a director, producer, have these big moments. And we've seen really, really great tune-in results when we're able to do something like that. And so again, this comes back to me of like kind of making sure that people are aware of those three things about, again, what is it, where can I see it, and when am I actually able to see it? And events like that are really helpful for reminding people, hey, this syndicated content is now going to be available somewhere else, or hey, seasons 1, 2, and 3 of your favorite show are now available on a different platform because it's been licensed, things like that. So I think engaging with interesting topics like that can really help kick that off.
Awesome. So next question, I think kind of taking a step back, let's talk about activation, right, and targeting. So how do you think marketers can best kind of optimize and target their buys based on who is most likely to tune in or most likely to drive lift? Do you guys have any examples of maybe some successful campaigns that you guys have come across or activated? Yeah, Yasmin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, tying into what you said, Danielle, on superfans, we have at the NBA what we call our core fans, and we have our casual. So our core fans are those who watch NBA all the time, right? You don't have to do much to really get them. And they execute a lot more on our institutional platforms, so ESPN, Disney, and TNT, right? And then we have obviously paid media, and we reach our casual and curious fans who tend to tune in, a they don't want to miss out. It's like the FOMO, right? Like they don't want to hear about it, at the water cooler, right? So they would tune in when there's like a larger tempo, like Christmas, start of season, and obviously like playoffs.
So would that be like
Right.
a light, like Danielle mentioned, a light equivalent?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, like a light. And then you have curious, those who, they're kind of curious, but not really having it, right? So you're most likely to tune in, and then you're, mediums, and then you're light or not really trying to hear it. So we have ads, creatives that we shape to speak to each of those audiences, right? And we make sure that we set up a campaign in a way where we're going to reach those audiences, right? So again, our core viewers are on our institutional platforms, and then we have our casual and curious that we spend our paid media against. So your Bravo, USA, Sci-Fi, everywhere else that we have to spend money to get. Ultimately, it's about really, again, understanding what they're looking for. It's understanding, their interests, and making sure we're capturing that in the actual creative itself. And then activating that across the platforms we believe that those audiences are tuning into or using to really engage in content. So like Young said, leading into digital is huge. You could really only activate addressable programmatic buy for targeted segments against digital and particularly social media, right? So thanks to Samba, you guys are able to help us then tie into that, like our tune-in. So those who are exposed to our no problem. Those who are into tuning in or has seen an ad for a game, let's say it's the start of season, on TikTok or X, aka Twitter, you guys are able to tell us how many of them actually tune into a game, right? So that's powerful, and then align that again with all the measurement to tell that story. So I also feel like it's it's a journey. Activating is important, and just making sure you have a campaign that really touches on each of the platforms in which your audiences are will definitely help to lead to success.
I really like that. So it's understand your audience, right? And it's not just one audience, right? Understand the different audiences, and then
Right.
speak to each of those different audience groups in the way that they want to be spoken to.
Correct.
Yeah,
If I could, because I think what you said about the creative is super important as well. Like I talked about one approach, but another approach is we had a major tentpole event as well, and I think ratings are up 30 or 40% year over year. It's a good story, but
Yeah.
we relied. We took a different approach. We relied on the fandom again, but the fandom of the talent that was in the show. So we did a lot of splashy vanity type placements, a lot of expensive media placements, and it proved to be successful. So it's again knowing the audience, but knowing what the audience would gravitate to. And in that situation, what we all decided was they would gravitate towards the talent. And the creative really resonated with the talent that we had in the show, and it proved to be a very, very successful at the end.
Oh, that's great. Young, what about you? I mean, I feel like Meta has a wealth of so much data, right?
Yeah. So I think for us, first of all, we align success with our marketers' ultimate business goals. That's really the key, right? Which usually are incremental tune-in, driven by the advertising dollar, incremental ROI, incremental ROAS, right? So how do you actually use correct measurement methodology to optimize toward that? So for example, using sports earlier we discussed, right? With more ways to watch sports, a wider audience will be drawn to sports, which helps attract and grow sports audience. So marketers will help marketers understand that you need to expand targeting universe beyond the loyal diehard fans in your campaign. Another one is Meta has invested in developing third-party lift measurement partnership like with Samba. So our marketers can leverage this gold standard way of measuring causal effect that through the randomized control trial experiments, which we believe give the advertiser the most accurate insights in terms of where the impact come from. And to actually bring it to the next level, we also recommend advertisers to use multiple measurement methodologies. So that will give you a holistic view of to evaluate your overall marketing investment. We recommend marketers should actually use incrementality result to calibrate your MTA frequently so that you can see how you improve the overall marketing decision effectiveness.
Awesome. So we have a minute left. Last question for everybody, round robin. So if you were to leave marketers with one key takeaway on how they should be thinking about driving tune-in, what would that be, Yasmin?
There's this one metric called attention, and is used by Adelaide. It's called attention score. That metric is very powerful. It's a proxy metric that we use at the NBA to really gauge in flight how a campaign is doing, and then we use that to actually adjust the campaign. Normally, for the most part, about 99% of the time, it drives incremental households and it leads to direct tuning conversion.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree a lot with what Yang said, the importance of moving beyond just true reach and frequency to that incrementality, aligning that with your audience, aligning that with your KPI, aligning that with your targeting. Those are the campaigns that end up being the most successful.
Awesome. Daniel.
Focus on your heavy core fans, and then focus on incrementality from there.
Commit to a ongoing test and learn practice, and
Big one.
actually implement your test learning into your day-to-day media decision. I want to leave everyone with some really powerful meta ads research published in Harvard Business Review, right? So advertisers that run 15 tests in a year experienced a 30% improvement in their campaign performances. Those who run an additional 15 tests in the second year actually achieve 45% improvement in performance. That shows the power of iterative learning.
I love that. Always be learning. That's a great way to end it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.